Hey y'all, Michigan Cryptid here. So we got our first email. Uh, like I alluded to in the short, man, this is from somebody that knows me. I haven't seen him in a long time. He's another tree guy, man. Spent a lot of time in the woods just like me. So to be honest, I'm not very surprised that he's got an encounter or five. There's another clue. Anyway, here we go. Y'all ready? A bit of a background on myself. I'm a 37-year-old guy from Michigan. Been in the woods all my life, as long as I can remember. Hunting, hiking, camping, etc. I'm also a certified arborist and have been in the tree industry for about 18 years now, which will come into play in this particular encounter I'm going to share. I'm a pretty normal guy, married, kids, house, dog, etc. On to the encounter, in which I'll share a few pics as well. Sorry I didn't get a picture of what I encountered, so don't get your hopes up. In September of 2022, I went on a bow hunting trip to Wisconsin. We hunted all along the Wisconsin River on state land. The closest town to us was called Millville. We had hunted a few days already with no success, and we decided to head up a large valley that locals call hills, but we called mountains, with 60 pounds on our backs. There were three of us in total, and we came to a fork in the washout we were hiking up. Two of us went left, and I went right. I kept heading up to a couple hundred yards, this large washout with almost vertical banks on each side. The initial incline to climb the washout was about 6 or 7 degrees. Once I saw a bank that was able to be climbed at approximately 15 degrees, I took it and headed up the mountain, or hill if you're local. I worked my way up until I finally saw some deer sign. Almost to the top of the ridge is where I spotted my first trail running along the hillside. I walked past it to see if there was another trail or other sign, and sure enough, there was about 30 yards from the first. I decided I was going to set up between the first and second and split the difference. The second trail was about where the hill started to level off a bit. Not exactly flat, but not what I had just climbed up. The weather that whole week was pretty great. This particular day it was in the mid to high 60s with almost zero wind. I tossed some milkweed to see where the wind was pushing scent, and it did not move much at all before it hit the ground. I decided to drop my pack and my bow to walk a bit down the upper trail and see which direction it was headed so I'd know about where to be looking when the deer come out of the brush. The area I had stopped in was a bit thicker with underbrush, so visibility wasn't very far at all. As I walked down the trail, I noticed a very apparent tree that was bent over and lodged into another tree, which I will send pictures of. The tree itself was about 6 to 8 inch diameter at chest level, and maybe standing straight up, the tips would have been at possibly 30 feet or so. In the pictures, you can see that it was purposely wedged into another tree directly over the game trail I was walking on. Immediately, my hair stood up on end, and I looked around for any other structures or den type setups, and I saw nothing. After snapping a few pictures and a video, I decided to continue my hunt and not to try and explain to the other guys I was with that I'm possibly seeing Bigfoot marker, as they would just talk crap to me and tell me I'm dumb and all that. Man, I'm hoping to fix that, you guys. Sorry, back to the experience. So as I stated, I decided to continue the hunt and got set up in a tree between the trails about 40 yards from the bent over tree, which was in my setup to my 6 o'clock. I hunt in a saddle, so I have to build my ladder as I go and set my platform when I get to a height. And once I'm all set, I have a rope attached to my bow that I pull up. And I'm trying to be quiet because there's no wind to cover up my sound. Once I get to the top and set, I go to pull my bow up and I feel resistance on the rope. I look down to the bottom of the tree to see what it snagged onto, and I see that I was hooked on a small vine. Once I maneuvered my bow out of the vine, I happened to look up to my 1 o'clock and see a decent 8-point buck standing there 20 yards away looking at my bow dangling in the wind, 15 feet below me. As I pulled my bow up, he followed it up, noticed me, and he spooked and ran about 10 yards and stopped to look at me again. At this point, I probably could have shot him, but I quickly weighed out my options of shooting him, then walked down the hill, getting my jet sled and cleaning equipment, then coming back up, locating, field dressing, and going back down and probably passing out from exhaustion. Or I could just let him walk and see what else came through because he was not near big enough for the amount of work I was going to have to put in. I decided to choose the latter, and I let him go on about his business. And as he kept looking at me and decided I was definitely a human in a tree, and he blew. If listeners don't know what a deer blow is, it's when they blow super hard to alert all the other deer around that something is wrong. So as soon as he blows, he takes off running to my 12 o'clock position along the ridge, and I lose sight pretty quick due to the brush being thick. I keep watching in that direction. I see it through a small hole in the foliage about 30 yards away, a flash of him hightailing it out of there. I keep an eye on that opening and get a text from one of the other guys that he just heard one blow, and I text back and tell him that was just me getting busted. I hate that. As soon as I send the text to him, I look back through the small opening where I saw him run through to see if the buck had decided to come back. When I look back through, I see a tree get pushed down the hill with a good force. This tree conservatively was in the 18-inch diameter range, maybe closer to 20. I say it was pushed with force because of the way it fell. If it were a natural fall, it would have been affected by other trees around it slowing it down. This seemed to take a very fast, direct route to the ground. When the tree went over, I immediately got a bit spooked, and I started really listening for any movement or anything. That's when I noticed there were no sounds in the woods, man. No birds, no bugs, just the vibration of my phone and one of the other guys saying WTF was that. Now you guys stop a second here. Man, this is another pattern that is so prevalent in all of these stories, man. Like the wind stops. The bugs stop. The birds stop. And it's so quiet and still. I can't imagine how freaky that had to be, man. All right, let's get back to it. I told him what just happened and tried to explain what I thought it was in my panic. To my surprise, I wasn't mocked or anything. I had made the decision to sit the rest of the evening hunt until dark. As you can imagine, the climb down from the tree and solo walk back down the hill and washout was pretty darn eerie. I had my hand on my fixed blade knife the whole way down. I decided not to use a bright headlamp as to not ruin my night vision, which just added to the eerie feeling. Although I never saw a creature that day, I really think I was dealing with a Sasquatch. The trail marker tree lodged into another one is no natural occurrence. As you can see in the pictures, there was not another tree that had fallen onto it, pinned it down. This seemed to be purposely done. As for the tree getting hurled over within 90 seconds of the deer passing it, I think it was a Sasquatch being the watcher of the forest and letting me know it was there because I spooked the deer and it wasn't excited about me being there. Could it have been a coincidence? Quite possibly, but it seems very unlikely, with the timing of it as well as the beautiful weather with almost zero wind. I will include a screenshot as well of the text with the timestamps as well as a screenshot of where the other two were in relation to me and how loud that tree falling was for them to hear it a couple hundred yards away through the woods. At the time of the incident, I never smelled anything as the thermals were pulling down the hill and not in my direction. The rest of the trip went without incident, thankfully, but I was still looking around a lot more after this. Man, how could you not, bro? And I'm sure you're not the only one, right? You can see in the pictures of the tree that it's purposely wedged in a crotch and that there's nothing on the ground around it, that it seemed to fall and force it into that spot. I will also include a screenshot of the message times with stamps so you're able to see how quick this all took place from the deer running and then the tree. As well, have a picture from our hunting app we were using and where the other two set up in relation to me and the distance between us from which they heard the tree crash down. You guys, bear with me. I didn't really think this out on how I was going to show you guys these pictures, so I'm going to have to do it another time, but they're right here. And yeah, but I agree with you on that tree 100%. Sorry, guys. I just looked down and noticed I had a text from Angie. Well, you guys, that was one heck of an experience, man. I gotta wonder, bud. I know you mentioned to me you got some other stories, but I'm really wondering: are you still spending time out there, man? Are you still bow hunting? And if so, how did you work that out in your head, bud? So it works for you. Thanks for reaching out. I hope everybody enjoyed it, man. Michigan Cryptid, out.